Welcome to the Inner Circle, where we bring you conversations that inspire, encourage, and enlighten. My name is Figile Oyekami, and I am your host. Pain, especially due to losing a loved one, is not something that we invite, yet it's an experience that we cannot escape. Today I've invited two ladies who are going to share with us their experiences with losing loved ones. One lost a husband whom she was married to for 14 years, and the other lost a child who was 10 months old. Patricia and Sponseni, welcome.
Thank you.
It was very difficult to prepare for this because I didn't know where to start, opening a conversation about a subject that is so delicate. But I think I should start by asking how you have been holding up.
It's a journey that has no full stop, if I could say. I think the period where you plan for the funeral, your mind is preoccupied, but you never really prepared for the after. And I think with the society that we live in, as soon as the funeral is over and cleansing is done for us African people, people expect you to move on. But as the person who has lost, moving on is not easy, but you somehow have to force yourself because life has to move on.
Yeah. Patricia, you've also moved on?
Definitely not. It's been 18 months with me, and I lost my husband 2020 December. Like Spongitseni has said, people expect you to move on. I think a few weeks later, they expect you to move on, and they don't understand where you are or where you're coming from. So, have been holding up. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. I can't say for sure. I wake up every day, I'm still breathing, and I take each day as it comes.
Yeah. Like I've said when I was opening, pain is not something that we apply for, especially when you get married. We know we make the vows till death do us apart, but you don't imagine that day really coming. So if you can just take us back to that day, what happened? How was the message of your husband's passing communicated to you?
How do I put that? My husband passed on. I was there in my presence. So, because he's someone who usually snores, he was sleeping. So, back of my mind was, because the whole day he has been saying he feels a bit tired, he just wants to sleep. So when he started closing his eyes, and because he was lying on the bed and I was also facing him, and then I said to him, "Are you finally sleeping?" Because he's been saying that he's tired, but somehow he couldn't fall asleep. Then he said yes. And then he closed his eyes, and what I thought it was a snore, apparently people were saying it was, what do you call it? Gasping, taking his last breath. I was just there, and I thought he's just sleeping, and I just moved and went to the bedroom, to the kitchen, sorry, because we're in the bedroom. Coming back, I saw the way that he was sleeping because he was somehow turned to the other side. And with us being us, I just pushed him and said, "Robala sentle," because he was facing. But now, when his hand just was a bit numb or what, then I realized that there must be something wrong with him. How the message was communicated to me, my husband had kidney failure for the past 8 years. So we've had moments where I thought that we're losing him. And that particular day on the 21st of December 2020, it wasn't one of those. I've seen worse. So to me, it was just, that day was just one of those days, Called a friend, we called an ambulance, and the paramedics came in. and I remember I was in the bedroom. My kids were in the dining room. And I knew that Daddy was sick because every now and then he's on and off. I remember there was 2 ladies and 1 guy. So the white guy, there were 2 black ladies, I think. I can't remember, but I remember this white guy who said to me, because I kept on touching him and saying, somehow I think he has collapsed or something. So the guy said, sorry ma'am, but your husband is no more. Like, you know those things when you hear words and it's as if you are somewhere in the space. So I just didn't understand. At that particular time, it was a time when I was training so much. I was exercising every day. Immediately, I put on my sneakers and I said I'm going for a jog. The guy, I was already in the passage, then the guy came running to take me and said, we have a situation here. The kids are here, we have to handle this. After that, I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember. Because I remember there was a point I actually went jogging because I remember somebody, I don't even know who, I think it's one of the paramedics who came to get me. I was already at the corner of the street to grab me. So after that, I really don't know. But I remember his words when he just said, ma'am, your husband is no more. At that time, it didn't make sense. I didn't know what she was on about. I just wanted to go out running away. To where I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So news was a bit different from, she said that because of the ailment that he's been had, he had for some time, somehow your mind kind of prepares you that a day might come. But when the worst had passed, she probably didn't expect. But yours was a bit different with your son.
Yes, mine was quite different because I was busy preparing a first birthday party, and then I'm busy having all these plans in my head, and then Osisi calls me to say that Uaviwe is a bit fluish. I'm like, okay, cool, it's fine. Let me book, and then I'm gonna come home. We're gonna take him to the doctor. So we went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, it's June, it's cold, the change of season. He's gonna be fine. Go and get this at the pharmacy, but just monitor his temperature. And that was that. We got home, and then when we got home, I slept for a while, and then I woke up later. Everywhere was okay. There was nothing wrong with him. I did my usual, cooked supper, and we went to bed. But in the middle of the night, I just realized that his temperature keeps on going up and down. So I asked my husband that we should go to the emergency. We got to the emergency. The doctor on call said he's blocked because of snotters. So they're going to try and unblock those. And they did that. Somehow when I was outside, I just started crying, and I don't know why I was crying. And then they came to tell us that they did an x-ray and he has a chest infection. So we're going to be admitted. Now that was early hours of Thursday. We got admitted. Our pediatrician came to see us, and then there was no drip, there was nothing basically that you could say that was alarming, Later during the day, my husband came to see us. Avriel was quite a jovial child, so that time he was just a bit down, But we thought, it's just the flu, he's going to be okay. My husband left, and then it was just us. Early hours of Friday, the 7th of June, I noticed that his lips are now turning navy. I didn't know what that meant. And then his breathing also changed. And then this nurse that was passing by came to say, is that he's breathing? I'm like, yes. And then he's like, can I take him to there was a room where they do whatever that they do there. And then he took him. I finally slept a bit, and then my alarm rang, and then I'm supposed to be at work. Switched off my alarm. And then this nurse comes to me and he says, pray. I'm like, yeah, okay. No, she came and then she was like, we're still working on him, like, relax, don't be okay, like, don't be alarmed. And then in the passage, I could hear them saying, call the doctor, the doctor needs to give us the instruction. And then I woke up again, and then something inside of me was like, oh, they shouted code blue. I didn't know what code blue meant. And then I just went down the passage. I was like, what is wrong with my son? What is wrong with my son? And then they were like, please stay in your room, please stay in your room. I'm trying to call like my husband to come over. My phone is disconnected somehow. And then there was this lady who had her child also admitted. She came to my room and gave me the phone. And then this woman that had admitted us, she came, she was like, I've never seen what is going on in my entire whatever years I've been working here. Please pray. At that point, that's when I called my mom to call me, to please pray. I called my husband, please come, something is wrong with the child. And then I called my other prayer warriors, if I could say. We prayed, and then suddenly the doctor comes, is like, where's your husband? I'm like, he's not yet here, he's still coming. And then it's like, we're still working on him. What is wrong? What is it that you're working on? He wouldn't say. And then he goes, and then I think 30 minutes later, he's like, your husband is still not here. I'm like, no, he's probably getting ready for work to see us, and then he's going to go. And then he's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, that your son is late. And I was like, what happened? He could not explain what happened. And he just kept on saying, I'm sorry. I'm like, you can't tell me you're sorry. Because the nurses were saying that they've been calling you and you were delaying to come. What is it? What happened? And funny enough, before the doctor came to tell me that my son was late, I was kneeling down praying, and in Xhosa kuthiwa kuqhaqha kwenimba. And at that point, I didn't know that is exactly what was happening, because as I was kneeling down, I felt this pain exactly on my cesarean, this pulling pain. And then a few minutes later, they came to tell me that my son was late. That was that. So they wanted to do a post-mortem. And then I was like, my husband was for it, but in the long run, I was like, what is that post-mortem going to change? Are we going to operate the small body and then find out what? What are we going to do? Like, is it going to change? Is it going to bring it back? So it's not worth it. So that is that.
Both of you are very strong in your faith, and I know there must have been something you said to God on that day, if you still remember. What was the first thing that came to your mouth, or out of your mouth, to God? Because we know that God is there, is a giver of life, and here you are, the lives of people that you love have just left in your presence, in your prayers, if you're praying. So what is it that you said to God during that time?
Well, for me, as I was praying, the words that I repeatedly said was, let your will be done. So when that happened, I was like, okay, God, I said, let your will be done, and I believe your will is done. I might not understand it right now, but you have to make it for me. I remember saying, like the days after the death and everything, there was this one constant song that I played, Fragile Heart by Yolanda Adams. And there's the part in that song that says, I'm giving my fragile heart right back to you, and you are the only one that can put it back together again. And for me, that is exactly what I said. I was like, you've put me in this position. I don't know how I'm going to move. I don't know what to do, but I am trusting your will to see me through this. And that is still my prayer even now, because the episodes come, but I'm always saying, you have to see me through. I call myself as your child, and you just have to be the father and see me through. Yeah.
And for you, Patricia?
In all honesty, I couldn't pray. Honestly, I couldn't face God, to be honest with you. I remember I was so disappointed. I think that's what I said actually. I said, God, I'm disappointed. Because I honestly was. With me, we had separated with my husband the previous year, and the time that he passed on, he was back home. I think it was 7 or 8 months. I remember I even told my people very close to me will tell you, I used to even say I felt like a teenager all over again. Because you know, with marriage you have your ups and downs. But the last 8 or 9 months when my husband was back, I felt like a teenager. I honestly don't want to lie. I remember saying to God, do I not deserve happiness in my life? Because it's been long where we had our issues. When I'm finally happy, you take this person away from me. I was honestly, I think there's also, I remember when Fikile called me about this, I said to her, I was going through, because what grief is, the 1 minute you feel you're fine, you're on top of the world, the next day you wake up and you also feel like dying or just giving up. So I remember questioning God. I honestly questioned him on so many things, because it was as if we just met. We were so in love. I remember I had my husband on the Friday. I had a surprise birthday dinner for him. The Saturday it was our daughter's 5th birthday, and she passed on the Monday. I said, but God, the weekend we were so happy. Why didn't you just show me a sign? You know, because from Friday, the whole week, Friday and Saturday, and even on Sunday, you know, after when you had events, you sit and you talk about everything that happened, and we were all laughing. And I honestly did not see any. There was no sign at all, you know. I think the only time that I actually started praying or being able to face God, I think was 3 or 4 months later. Because honestly, I just couldn't pray. I don't know, like, I couldn't pray at all. I tried on so many times, but I couldn't. And I remember my very first prayer, I was not even praying. I think I was just shouting at God, you know. My friend from church came and she said to me, she asked me, because I remember they wanted to pray for me. She said we should pray together. I told her that I couldn't. Then she said to me, the day that you feel like you want to speak to God, just let it out. if you feel like you want to scream, if you feel like you want to shout at him, do it. Don't do it the traditional way and say, God, just have a face-to-face conversation with him. It only happened 3 or 4 months later. But before then, I don't want to lie. I couldn't at all. I couldn't.
And I like what Sibongiseni said about, being a child of God, because sometimes we relate to God like he's there, and he expects you to be a certain way all the time. And one of the traps I believe that we fall into, especially as women, is the trap of being called strong.
Yes.
Strong. Sometimes I hate it when people say you are such a strong person, because when you embrace that fully, I feel that you cheat yourself of the opportunity to also draw strength from God, because you want to be that strong person. And I know with you, Patricia, you have been open about your journey. I remember after your husband died, you would post on your social media when there's something you have to face, like going to his home, going to you've mentioned counseling on Facebook. Was there never a time where you felt like people will think I want attention? This should be dealt privately, because generally you're just an out there person, and now you are exposing your weakness to everyone. Didn't you at any point feel like, no, now it's like I'm exposing myself and I'm exposing my weaknesses, and people may take it the wrong way?
When people say, I don't know, you change somehow, some experiences in life change you in a certain way. I remember I was at a point where I told myself that I'm not going to listen to anyone on how I should feel or what I should do about the way that I feel. And that was it. I told myself that this is my journey. People don't understand. They will never understand what I feel or how I feel. And whichever way that I want to deal with this, I'm just gonna let it be. Like, I'm not going to follow if there is any formula or whatever. I just told myself that. And the other thing as well is, you don't even plan. Like, you wake up, like I say, grief is something else. You wake up one day where you feel you miss this person so much. Sometimes you just post pictures and say nothing. But there are days where you feel like you want to say something. And I guess also though I'm not a practicing journalist, but writing for me, it's sort of healing, Yes, I can talk all I want, but with me, I find it better when I sit down and write out all my feelings. So to me, that was part of healing. Honestly, as to who says what, or I couldn't be bothered. The only thing was just me, how I feel. And I think it's still like that even now, because even when I post, even on my WhatsApp statuses, I don't expect people to say anything. It's just about me and how I feel at that particular time.
With you, Sibongiseni, because a baby, everybody knows, unlike when you are married, there's nothing that says to people your husband is late, except people who know you. Even colleagues, if they don't know it, they don't have that relationship. But with a baby, it's people who saw you pregnant, who know about your baby. I remember also, you came to my workplace, and one of the things I asked you, so how was the baby? And it was very awkward to get the response that your baby was late. So I'm sure I was not the only person that asked you that question. And how have you been dealing with it up to today?
I remember there was this lady, when I was pregnant, I would meet at Dis-Chem, and then when I gave birth, I would always meet this lady because I think she was at the baby section. So when my son died, I avoided her because I know that she was gonna ask. And when we moved from the area where we used to stay, I was like, thank God, because we literally could not stay in the same area because everyone knew us with Aviwe. It's not easy fix. It's not easy even now when people ask you how many kids do you have. I cannot not count him because he lived. And then when I count him, and then you have someone saying, so how old is he? I'm like, he's 4, because he's supposed to be 4. And then the next question, so where does he go to school? And then the awkwardness has to come in. And also when I say I currently have those kids, it's and I don't mention him, I feel as if I'm cheating him. You know, I feel like I'm cheating him when I don't mention him. So I can't not mention him. And then the society that we live in, we have people that say, you need to let go.
Yeah.
Let him go. You now have another one. So just let him go.
As if that's a replacement.
Do you understand? As if there's no grave. As if there's no ID number of this person. You know, this person lived. And he did not just live for the 10, 11 months, but this person started to live on the day that I realized that I'm pregnant. So back to your question, really you find people, society wanting to put tags on how you should grieve. I remember on the day of his funeral, so the funeral went, and then we crew the soul and that process, and then I went back to sit on the chair, and then people came to say, no, you need to go home and stop crying now because and then this one woman, I was like, wow, how can someone say that? She was like, and you will never have other kids again if you continue to cry, you know? And it's like you want to have your closure in your own way. And it was at that phase where I was grateful to have brothers, because I remember my brothers, like all of them, they just came and they were protective of me to say, let her be, just leave her, let her do what she wants to do. So it's not easy, because people think that losing a child, it's okay, you'll have another one, especially if the child was small. But it is not okay. It is
And
not.
just on that, there's a lady I know who also lost a child, also due to respiratory issues. And she has another child now, I was with her in the week. And she says there's this fear that she has when the child cries. She's like, she was even saying, I don't like winter because I feel like my child is exposed, and I think it's a memory of what happened to her child. I know you have another child now. How have you gone through that? Have you gone through the same fear of your child now experiencing what?
Age fix. 2 weeks back, it was the anniversary of the death of Aviwene. And when I was pregnant with my second Anani, even from the pregnancy, I had the fear. Every time I would go to the gynae, is the heartbeat there? Is the growth okay? So the fear did not just start with when he was born, but even from pregnancy. I think the death of my son brought me closer to God. I know it might sound as if it's a scriptured response, but for me, it brought me closer to know him as my father. So when the fear started, I was like, I'm not gonna allow that. I'm not gonna let those thoughts consume me. Because if I let those thoughts consume me, I'm not gonna enjoy Anani. I'm gonna be holding on to Aviwe. So someone might say I'm crazy, but every time that I'm with Anani and thoughts of Aviwe come, I try and focus on the positiveness of it. I try to focus on the positive, and I have this silliness that I would just chat to Anani about Aviwe. That, hey, you had a brother. Your brother's like this, your brother was like that. Does he ever come to you in your dreams? I try to have that silliness about it, because if I were to be trapped in the death of Aviwe, I'm not going to be enjoying Anani. And I believe that Anani deserves the wholeness of me. On the 7th, it was very hard for me. At that point, I just asked my helper that, Sisi, can you please be with Anani? Because at that time, I wanted to grieve Aviwe. I wanted to allow the emotions to come. So when I have those moments where I miss Aviwe, I try and shy away from Anani, because he does not deserve the sad mom. So I let myself to be sad. And luckily, the people that I have around me, they allow me to do that. At times I feel sorry for my husband, because he just gets to be like in a limbo where he does not know how to deal with me. But to answer your question, I asked the Lord that you're not gonna trap me in those thoughts. When it comes, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go to that shell. I'm not gonna go to that black hole. I don't wanna go there. Let Anani be, and Aviwe lived and died. And I'm not gonna impose whatever that happened to Aviwe to this one.
So what you're saying, that even in pain, you are still in charge of what is not part of the package that may try to come through, like fear and all of that. I believe that pain is not a waste. Everything that we experience is not a waste. I just want to find out from you, Patricia, what is it that this experience has taught you about yourself? You know, there's a cheesy saying that I don't really like, because I feel like, why are you talking about TPX? But there's a statement that you only know the strength of a TPX when you put it in hot water. You wouldn't know if it's just sitting there randomly. So you've had your pain, you're still in the journey. What is it that you know about yourself that you think you wouldn't have known had you not experienced what you experienced?
Somehow I've learned to put my kids' feelings before mine. I don't know what that is called. But I read somewhere where it says it's very difficult to be a mom while you're also trying to heal, something like that. But I've learned to be, I'm not sure how to put it, but I've learned to be, say, maybe a more focused man. I was focused, but somehow I had to put my kids' feelings first, because like what's saying is when you're grieving, you don't want your kids to see you as that sad mother. You don't want your kids to, because I have a teenage daughter. She understands. My 6-year-old also understands. But if I felt that if all the time they were going to see me sad, crying, then it means it's going to affect them negatively, you know. I've learned to put their feelings first before mine. I've learned that. This process taught me that so much, that there were times when I felt like I'm just about to burst into tears, but I had to hold it in, just so that they can go to school. I don't know how many times I cried after dropping them at school. I remember Tlotleho's first day at school, we had to take pictures, and I was still wearing the morning clothes. I even said to someone, my daughter will look at those pictures one day, you know, when she's grown up, and it'll be a constant. I don't want her to forget her father. It's never going to happen, but it's going to be a constant reminder because she have those pictures as a first day at school. But my mom was doing this because I remember there was a time when I was just taking pictures of her alone. But you know, kids, she kept on saying, "Mommy, come in, mommy, come in." So it's just one of those, yeah. But I've in this journey since my husband passed on, I've learned to put their feelings first, and I'll bother about myself later on.
And in terms of your relationship with God, what have you discovered? I know you were angry, you were disappointed, but in your reconnection with Him, what have you learned about God during this time?
If I can say it in my language, Modimo ha lahle bana ba gagwe. I've learned that God will never forsake His kids. Yes, at that point you might feel lost, hurt, but the moment that you reconnect with Him, I've realized that, you know, actually this God that I was angry at actually had my back. Because had it not been for Him, I don't know where would I be today. Because I normally say, because I hear people normally say, I also feel like dying. I've never at any point felt like that. Because I always thought to myself, God is giving me so much power to look after. I know I'll never replace their dead, but He has given me so much strength, you know. That's why when we started, I said, I don't know how I carry on. But one thing that I know for sure is God has my back. I've seen it on many times during the grieving process when I didn't, like, things just fall into place, you know. I was used to, I work in Joburg, I work far. I was used to a point where after school, my husband will take care of the kids. He'll drive them to extra lessons, extramural activities. It's been 18 months. I do it. How I do it, I don't know. It can only be God.
You know, when I lost my mother when I was 28. And for me, the pain was not really about the loss itself. It was because my mother and I had a very hostile relationship. So we reconciled in a way. We're still trying to build our relationship, and you know, she fell ill shortly and she passed away. I know for sure that it wasn't, the pain I felt was not because I lost a mother, but it was the pain of regret because of lost opportunities of enjoying this relationship. And fast forward years later, I met a very lovely woman who was my spiritual mother. You know, became very close, and she also passed away. But the pain for, you know, with her was different. The pain with her was the suddenness. You know, when you feel like it's an unfinished book or an unfinished chapter, you are still enjoying this and they just said cut, and then you have to figure out now how to move on. So I just want to check with you, what was the pain? What was really, was it the loss, or was it something else, like in my case, regret and the suddenness of losing somebody that you still was expecting that they would be in your life for longer?
For me, when you give birth to a child, you don't expect to bury that child. And as I'm saying that, when we got admitted, I was busy on my phone planning my child's first birthday. And then boom, I had to be planning a funeral. I had plans of where he's gonna go to school, where he, like, I had so many aspirations and ambitions for him. So the pain is really about what could have, what could. And I always laugh at God's sense of humor, because with me, the year that I was pregnant, a number of people that I know were also pregnant. And funny enough, they gave birth to boys. my brother as well. So on the day that Aviwe died, it was actually my nephew's birthday. So every time that I see them, I'm like, Aviwe would be this old. They're now going to preschool. I'm like, I would be there now. So the pain at times, it's invested in exactly what you're saying, that we had hopes, we had plans, but then, like the Bible says, we have no control over what tomorrow holds. So it's like you were writing this life, this future for you, and then suddenly it's taken away from you. Or imagine you are cooking the supper, you are so hungry, and then you prepare all this food, and then as you are starting to enjoy the food, it's just taken away from you. That's how it was with me.
You, Patricia?
I think, in a way, for me was like I said, I was just starting to feel like a teenager again because, you know, me and my husband were fixing everything. We had plans. We had so many plans. I remember we spoke. But the other thing as well is, I remember on the 17th of December, we had a lengthy talk with him. It's only later that you realize that this person was actually preparing me, you know? Because I remember there was a point where I even said to him, are you dying? And he said, no, I'm cool. But as I sit and think about it, that conversation that we had, he was actually telling me that this is it, you know? Sure that as people, yes, it crossed my mind when the way that he was speaking, but because he kept on saying, I know you believe so much in God. I know you're strong. You must look after my kids. In whatever that you do, even if you move on with your life, just please don't forget my mom. You know? But on the other hand, what I think what was confusing is, on the other hand, we had plans. I remember you were saying to me, a Valentine of the following year, the two of us are going to Cape Town. We just have to leave the kids. So it was a bit of confusion, you know. So I guess for me the pain was our plans, you know, what the future might have been. But the one thing that I'm grateful to God for is the memories, especially the last 8 or 9 months. You know, my husband would go out of his way. Like I was saying, like I was so surprised. I remember I told my colleague, I even said to my colleague, because my husband was a policeman, I said to my colleague, this one is back to kill me. Because he was acting so strange. You know, when you saw every day, it's, you know. But now, this person, like, this is a changed person. I said, no, this one is back. I'm dying. I kept on telling them, I'm dying. This one is back to kill me, you know. But I'm grateful. I'm truly grateful to God for the moments, you know. Most of the time when I sit down and pray to God, I say, God, I could have been the angriest widow ever. But you chose to let this 8-9 months of our lives together to be bliss. And I'm grateful for that. You know, that's when I saw the greatness of God. I said, you know, I actually realized that you love me so much because I've heard stories. It could have been worse. Especially, you know, with in-laws, the stories and all that. Figile knows. 3 weeks ago, I went to my mother-in-law. We get so much alone because she knows. And my husband made sure in the last 9 months of his life, he made sure that everyone knows that he loves us. He loves me so much. So when the funeral comes, preparations and all that, even post that, anytime I go to that woman and we get along.
Yeah.
Like when we leave the last time when we left 3 weeks ago, she was crying so bad. Like she wants us to be there longer, you know. So that's what I'm saying. That's when I realized, you know what, people are going through the most out there. Because you get sometimes you even get accused. Because my husband passed on in my presence. It was just the two of us in the bedroom, so people could have said things, but
And
that's
I'm glad
when
you're
I
bringing
realized.
that up because, you know, there's a joke. Well, I took it as a joke when this woman, obviously, she was relating her experience with the loss of her husband, where the family are now somehow towards her. And she said, you know, in Africa, men don't die, women kill them.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Kill
yes.
them.
It's always like
And,
that.
and I'm glad that you mentioned how your in-laws have been with you, because some of those things, they prolong your healing, they add to your burden, you know, especially as women, if it's a husband, if it's a child as well, sometimes when your partner is not around, they question you as if you could have done better. Why did you expose the child to the cold? Was the child wearing a jersey? You know, all those things. But I'm glad that you had a different experience. Was it the same with you?
Well, with me, I chose to be selfish with the death of my son because I realized that people have opinions and people will have a number of things to say. So for my own sanity, it let me rather focus on Usbongseni and what Usbongseni feels at that particular point and what she needs. And I often tell people that grief is an individual thing. Because most people will ask me, so how's your husband? I'm like, he's a man. And I can't tell you how he is. But I know that he's hurting. But I can't tell you deeper than that. So with me, and you would have people who come and whisper to you that, hey, give this and that, you know?
So instead of bitterness in your heart as well.
So I just decided, you know what, let me delete everyone else, if I could say. Let me delete everyone else and let me focus on what I feel because no one understands the pain that I'm feeling apart from me. And like I always go back to say, I feel God cushioned me because at that particular point of my life, I got many people coming to me to say, I've walked your journey. You're gonna be okay. And when you sit down and you listen to those other people's journey, you like actually think I'm in a better position than they are, you know? So that was my story.
When God allows us to experience certain things, it's because it's something that He knows about us that would not break us, because the intention is not for your pain to destroy you, but I believe it is to learn, it is to expose you to you. You know, the strength, that way that we say we don't like, if it wasn't true that we are really strong, maybe not as strong all the time, but being able to stand, being able to take another step and another step and another step, is exposing us to ourselves, and it has exposed us to God. You said it brought you closer to God. You got to understand the love of God better because of this experience. I'll just say there's nothing new under the sun. I'm sure there are people who are watching here who would like to hear some words of hope from both of you. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
From me, don't think that you are inhuman. And don't think that just because it hasn't happened to you, it will never happen to you. So in your journey in life, learn to be cautious, if I could say, of other people, because you don't know what they're going through. Always be kind, always be loving, because by you being loving and being kind, you might be actually giving some comfort to a pain that is deeper to someone. And as you walk in your journey, never ever think that it will never happen to me, because it will happen to you. And in all that you're going through, let God be God in your life. Yeah.
Let God be God in your life, Patricia.
Grief is a process. Take each day as it comes. Don't be fooled or be forced by people to just move on. Any day that you feel that you're not okay, let it out. I believe, with me, I believe crying is part of healing. So just let out your emotions, and any step, even a shaky step towards the front is progress.
Yeah.
So take each day as it comes, move forward. One thing that I've learned is not to dwell in the pain. In everything that you do, each day that you wake up, invite God in your life. Ask God to lead your way and give you strength, and let God be. Leave everything in His hands and let Him lead your way, and everything else will fall into place.
Can I just add something? Also, in as much as we are talking about God, but there are circles that,
Structure.
yes, the support structure is there. So if you are grieving, there are people that are going through the same pain as you. Don't sit around in your corner thinking that you are alone. You are not alone. There's different things that you can actually be part of. I'm not going to mention them, but the support structures that are there. So reach out and you will get the help. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, ladies. Pain is something that we don't invite, but you can learn. Pain can expose you to yourself. It can expose your strengths, the strengths that you never thought you have. It can allow you to know God better and know other people better. So wherever you are, if you are in pain, if you've lost a loved one, just know that you're not the only one. Reach out as much as you can, but allow that pain to bring out the best in you. I hope you were encouraged. I hope you were inspired. I hope you were enlightened. And thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, so that other people may also have the same experience that you had. I'm Figile Oyekami. Thank you once again for tuning in.